It is super exciting to think and to know that the mutants are finally going to debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe next year. And next year is almost here, so we are not that far away. And according to some new reports, Marvel Studios has a lot of plans for the X-Men coming up. And this is fortunate, but also unfortunate at the same time, because it seems like Marvel Studios has changed their plans and shifted their focus to the mutants, since they have fired Jonathan Majors and are reportedly sweeping Kang the Conqueror under the rug, putting him to the side until the very end of the Multiverse saga. Before this happened, the mutants weren't really going to be that prominent in the Multiverse saga, at least not any new mutants or new X-Men characters. Of course, we know that some OGs are returning. Of course, we're getting Wolverine and Deadpool 3, along with probably the original X-Men cast. We also know that they're going to return for Avengers Secret Wars, along with reports of other iconic heroes that have played in previous movies prior to the MCU, like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. But any plans for new mutant characters weren't really in the Multiverse saga. However, like I mentioned, that seems to have changed now. Now, Marvel Studios did already kind of begin their plans for mutants in the MCU. They retconned Kamala Khan into a mutant, which they then did in the comics as well. Kevin Feige has reiterated that Namor is a mutant. And of course, in Multiverse of Madness, we got Professor X in a very comic accurate wheelchair / hover chair. It's been a good time, but we haven't been hit with the X-Men or mutants full force yet, but it looks like that is about to change. So let's dive into this new report. But if you're new, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. We're also doing a giveaway, more on that in the end. Yesterday, we went over part of an article released by Alex P at thecosmiccircus.com. And again, I encourage you all to read the entire article. We'll link that in the pinned comment down below. And in the article, insider Alex P talks about the future of Deadpool 3 and the age of mutants. Speaking about the X-Men coming to the MCU next year in 2024, he states, first on the list will be X-Men 97, set to release sometime around April-May 2024. The project is a direct sequel to the animated series from the 90s. It is set to continue covering the events of this universe's iteration of the X-Men following the conclusion of the original series in 1997. While the direct connection to the larger MCU remains unclear, sources indicate that these X-Men will serve as the original reference for future iterations. Some examples include Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and Dr. Hank McCoy in The Marvels, both of which are inspired by the designs of the original animated series. This series is also expected to run for multiple seasons, with the second season already being developed at the time of writing this article. So that's kind of cool. Basically, what Alex Perez is stating here is that Marvel Studios is taking inspiration from the animated series designs for the live action designs of the mutants that are already in the MCU and coming to the MCU. But of course, I know what everybody is thinking. That's great for the animated characters, but what about the new mutants coming to the MCU, the live action ones? Don't worry, the article covers that. He states, following the release of X-Men 97, one of the most highly anticipated projects coming from Marvel Studios is the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine film. This has been teased as a multiversal road trip movie across several Marvel universes, which will ultimately cross over into the main 616 universe / MCU. Then he states, while we won't directly spoil what happens in this movie, it's an absolute certainty that the project will set the stage for what comes next for the mutants in the main 616 MCU. He states, we can confirm from our sources that there have been discussions about mutants having a more pronounced role in the upcoming phase of the Multiverse saga than initially anticipated. This is in hopes of establishing mutants in a more meaningful way on Earth 616 before the conclusion of the saga. Now, there's more to this article, including talk about the Avengers vs. X-Men, but let's break down this part first. This wasn't really in Marvel Studios' original plans. We mentioned in our video yesterday that Marvel Studios is reportedly going to kind of sideline Kang until he returns as a bigger, badder villain for Avengers Secret Wars, but essentially, we aren't going to see him until then, which of course, as we know, was not the plan, but since Jonathan Majors was found guilty and he is, of course, associated with Kang. When you hear Kang, you think Jonathan Majors. They want that to subside. They need that to kind of die down and go away. So essentially, Kang is sidelined until basically all of this news about Jonathan Majors goes away. Of course, there's always going to be an association there with the name, but eventually they will recast him. But this has Marvel shifting their plans in a really big way. Kang was supposed to show up in many different forms, many different variants, all throughout the MCU in a bunch of different projects until we eventually got to Secret Wars. Now we might just see him one more time in the MCU in the finale of the Multiverse saga, Secret Wars. But the good news to that is it looks like the X-Men are now going to become more prominent. With Kang out, Marvel Studios needs something really exciting for the Multiverse saga now, and the X-Men are perfect for that. In their original plans, they weren't really going to focus on the X-Men too much until after the Multiverse saga. But now, due to everything that has taken place, we get them sooner, and there is even talks of an X-Men movie, a specific solo X-Men movie happening before Avengers Secret Wars. And this really could be a perfect way to get people super excited about the MCU again, especially after what we are about to see in Deadpool 3. Plus, this does set up the next saga, which is going to focus on the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. It sets it up in a much better way with a lot more continuity. Now, apparently Marvel and Disney already have some ideas of what they are going to do, which of course they do. Jonathan Majors was arrested in March of this year. They've had 9 months to think about what they're going to do if he is found guilty. So of course they have ideas of what they're going to do, and they probably have it pretty close to locked in. If not, they have their full plans already. And according to Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus, some ideas include a Mutants series on Disney Plus, focusing on individual stories for several mutants. And he gives an example of Marvel's What If. So basically this Disney Plus show, for each episode that we got, could be about a different mutant. One episode could be about Rogue, another could be about Cyclops, another could be about Storm, then another about Wolverine. You get it. And I gotta say, that would be pretty dang cool. I think almost everybody would be there for that Disney Plus show. But Alex continues to state, or an X-Men film under the Marvel Studios brand down the road prior to Avengers Secret Wars. So a movie about the X-Men titled The X-Men would come before Secret Wars. That way, when all of the X-Men show up in Avengers Secret Wars, past and present, it wouldn't be that confusing to the general population, which really isn't a bad idea on Marvel's side. But check this out. In this article, Alex states, according to one source, another idea that's been tossed around involves an Avengers vs. X-Men film set between the members of the 616 Avengers and the X-Men. However, it's still too early to discuss, as the X-Men have not made their way to the 616 universe yet. So the 616 Avengers vs. the X-Men would most likely come in the next saga after Avengers Secret Wars, which does make sense. Although I would love to see that movie right now, they do need to set some stuff up before it actually happens. And if they tried to do that in the Multiverse saga, it would probably be a little too cramped. But having them meet each other, the Avengers and the X-Men, in the midst of Kang or somebody else, another villain perhaps, threatening the multiverse, would force them to work together. If they all consider themselves good guys and want to save the universe, they have to work together to stop this ultimate Kang variant or whoever else the villain could be. But reports from Alex Perez still suggest that Kang is going to be the big bad at the end. So in a moment of crisis, of course they'll work with the Avengers, but once everything settles down and they have time, perhaps they don't actually get along. And maybe they don't agree with the laws put in place by the countries that they live in. Maybe there's a new Sokovia Accords. Maybe they all end up in a new universe and they can't agree on how to proceed forward with it. Whatever it could be, at some point in time in the MCU, we should get an Avengers vs. X-Men film. It just makes sense and fans would love it. But I don't think it makes sense to come before Avengers Secret Wars. So maybe in the next saga, what we've been calling the mutant saga, we'll get an Avengers vs. X-Men film. According to sources, that is being talked about right now. So we have an X-Men movie possibly coming before Avengers Secret Wars. A Disney Plus show focusing on the live action X-Men could be coming as well, and an Avengers vs. X-Men film coming after Secret Wars. So things are getting really exciting for mutants in the MCU, but go ahead and let us know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on the MCU, and if you subscribe and leave a comment, you're automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, some Marvel Legends items, and some DC items as well. The winner gets to pick one item, and we pick one winner at the end of every month. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.